share the message of love. I'm going to share the blessed hope. But if I get discouraged, I call to Jesus' help, because I am decided I
Butterfly Church in Taiwan, a mobile clinic in Mexico, and the question, what is a missionary? Coming up next. Hello and welcome to Mission 360. I'm Gary Krause. Today's program is coming to you from Tokyo, Japan, and I'm standing in the Meiji Jingu Shrine, right in the heart of Tokyo. And this is a shrine that commemorates the Emperor and the Empress who died in the early 1900s. And this was established in 1920, and people from all over the world donated some 100,000 trees to build the beautiful forest that surrounds here. Shintoism, of course, is a fascinating religion. It's at the heart of Japanese culture and values. And on today's program, we'll be looking more at Japan, mission around the world. But first up, let's visit the Butterfly Church in Taiwan.
Every year, thousands of butterflies come to the Maolin Valley in Taiwan. They fly here just before the winter in search of warmth to survive the colder months. In this valley, there are more butterflies than people. In fact, the local native community is small. There are only 600 people who live here. Ubek lives in the Maolin Valley. As an artist, he is inspired by God's designs in nature. Tourists admire his unique art, including his favorite pieces, which are patterned after the butterflies. Ubek has used these amazing creations to cover the Maolin Seventh-day Adventist Church building, both on the outside and the inside. He has also dedicated some of his other intricate pieces to beautify the church. Ubek's charming and colorful metal butterflies help to make this church stand out among many other Christian denominations in this community. However, it's not the metal, wooden, or cloth ornaments that make this church known in the community. Every day, a group of local Adventists start the day with prayer. In the early morning, they ask God to bless their efforts to reach the people around them. Then they read from God's Word and stretch their muscles to begin an important ministry. Today, they will complete their 339th lap around and through the community. This is the Maolin Church's walking and praying ministry. Like butterflies that fly from flower to flower, these Seventh-day Adventists walk from house to house. As church members pour into the streets, they smile and warmly greet their neighbors. When someone invites them into their home, they pause to pray for the many who are in need there. And when they leave the home, the people feel blessed by the visit. During the trek, church members also stop at their own homes for a special prayer. Each member of the Walking and Praying Ministry also hosts a small group Bible study on a rotating basis. In these small groups, they pray daily for their neighbors who are learning about the Bible. These walking butterflies pollinate their community with God's love. Because of this ministry, the Maolin Adventist Church membership has doubled over the last 3 years. Members have also grown closer to each other and to Jesus. Please pray for the Butterfly Church and for the Christ-like ministry they do here.
My guest is Yuriko, who is a youth leader in her local church here in Tokyo, Japan. Yuriko, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
How did you first become a Seventh-day Adventist?
I actually grew up in Christian house.
Yes.
But actually I didn't want to become a Christian by the time I was 14 because of many different reasons. But then I went to high school in Oklahoma called Oklahoma Academy, and they are really focused on training young people to become evangelists or missionary. So all the programs that they have, like Messiah's Mansion, canvassing programs, and also they taught us about the Bible really well. And that was the first time when I decided to accept Jesus.
Wonderful. So through the Adventist Academy. Terrific. So in your church you have something called a Youth Rush program. Can you tell me what that is?
Oh, Youth Rush program is actually, it's a canvassing program.
Yes.
Starting in America, but actually they decided to start it in Japan. So young people, like around 14 to 20 people, come together and knock on the doors. We train them how to knock on the doors, and we also do like Bible study together.
Yes.
And we introduce the books to the people, and it's been amazing experience.
So I guess it is amazing. I mean, a lot of the places it would be very difficult to even get into some of the apartments, right? So what sort of response do you get?
Well, we get a lot of response. Most of the time, especially in the city, most of the responses are quick rejection.
Yes.
But we do meet many people who actually seeking God. And we pray with them, and they actually, cry at the doors. And
Really?
God has been showing many miracles.
Wonderful. Now, how many young people are involved in this program?
You mean the leaders or people
actually knocking on doors?
For one program?
So how many are going door to door knocking?
Oh, for one program we have a limit of 14 people actually. So the 14 students comes for one programs, and we have 3 of those programs for the summer and for the springs.
So do you have trouble getting enough young people to go?
No, actually depends.
Right, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. But now we, like, at the beginning of the programs, it started 2 years ago.
Yes.
And it started with like actually 7 or 8 people for the
built up.
first program. Yeah, but more and more people started wanting to come. So now we are running like 3 programs.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so.
Terrific. Now you have another program called Gideon 300. What is that?
Gideon 300 is a project to train the young leader, 300 youth leader until the year 2020.
Oh, wonderful. So how is that program going?
It's going very well. They actually started a program called Gifts.
Yes.
So the young people can learn about the Bible, like 28 fundamental of Seventh-day Adventist on the internet. And Youth Rush is one of those programs.
Wonderful. We're walking through a neighborhood here, which it's very quiet, it's very nice, you see families. But mission to these people, what sort of barriers are there? Why is mission such a challenge here in Tokyo?
I think one of the reasons is because people are actually filled. They have money, they have clothes, basically they have a job, they have food. So as it says in the Revelation, I'm rich, I'm enough with goods. But at the same time, many people in Japan are really feeling lonely, and they're stressed with many problems of life. So I think they are needing Jesus, but they are not realizing about it.
Right. So the opportunity is there to share.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of somebody whose life has been touched through this church?
Oh, through this church? Yeah, actually, we started to have an English Bible study on Wednesday, and my friend actually started to come to this church. I went to public college, 2-year college, and she grew up in Christian home, but she wasn't praying for 18 years. Yeah. So, but like past few months, like many things happened in her life, and she started to pray, and she actually contacted me, and she started to come to church. And now she's really enjoying it, and she said her life has been changed.
Terrific. Now, what are your hopes for the future? What would you like to see happen in the future?
Happen in the future?
Yeah.
I really like to. I really like to see more and more young people get on fire for God and be missionaries for Japan. And I want to see Jesus comes very soon.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. And viewers at home, please pray for mission here in Japan. Tokyo, huge city, so many people, high rises everywhere. And as we have been reminded, often they feel that they are rich and increased with goods and have need of nothing. But we know that there's something that only the love of Jesus can fill. So please pray for Tokyo, pray for Japan, pray for this church, pray for the young people and the leaders. And we will be right back straight after this break. Welcome back to Tokyo. If you're enjoying Mission 360, I invite you to follow us on social media. Go to Facebook and or Instagram, search for Mission 360 TV and click like or follow. Next up, Karen Glassford from Institute of World Mission shares what it means to be a missionary.
I got a question for you. Do you know what a missionary is? A missionary is someone that tells other people about Jesus anywhere in the world. Real often, missionaries go to other countries to tell people about Jesus who maybe haven't heard about Jesus before. Well, my family were missionaries when I was a little kid, and I grew up in different countries, and my dad was a pastor and a Bible teacher, and sometimes he would do evangelistic meetings, and people would come and they would hear about Jesus. Well, one of his students was going to hold an evangelistic meetings in the city close to where we lived, where in that section there was no Adventist. And my mom said, "Karen, would you like to be a missionary?" I said, "Oh yes, I've always wanted to be a missionary." She says, "Well, you've always been a missionary, but would you like to do something to help with some evangelistic meetings?" I said, "What can I do? I'm just a little kid. I'm, 5 years old? What can a 5-year-old do for evangelistic meetings except just smile at the people when they come in?" My mom said, "Well, they want you to play your violin and your brother play the piano, and sometimes you'll play together for like a half an hour before the meeting starts so that people will come out of curiosity to hear you guys play, because in this country it's not real common that little kids play musical instruments." I said, "But Mommy, nobody's going to give their heart to Jesus just because I played my violin." And my mom said, "I wouldn't be so sure about that. Someday when you get to heaven, you're going to have to ask Jesus if anybody came just because you played violin and then gave their hearts to Jesus." And I said, "Well, I'd like to know before I got to heaven." And my mom said, "Well, maybe Jesus will show you before you get to heaven." So that day, Mommy brought out a dress for me to wear. Now, I didn't like this dress. It was an itchy green dress. Now, the green dress was okay, but it was itchy. I said, "Mommy, I don't want to wear that dress. It makes me want to scratch all over." And Mom said, "No, but it's your best dress, and you want to do your best, so you're going to wear that dress." Well, we went to the high school in the auditorium. I played my violin up on the stage. My brother played the piano, and lots of people came and they listened. And then the preacher got up and he preached. And we did that several nights in a row. Years went by. Finally, one day, as an adult, I was asked if I would like to take some teenagers and go to that country again and do some evangelism with the teenagers, where the teenagers would be preaching. And I would be helping to mentor them and guide them and teach them how to do evangelism. I said, that would be a lot of fun. I'd like to see where I used to live. And so we came right on the campus of the university where my dad used to teach. And that night when we got in the car and we went to the meetings, it was in a nice church. And I suddenly remembered the name of the town. I said, "I've been here before." why have I been here before? And then it dawned on me, that was the town where I used to play my violin for that evangelistic meetings. And I thought, I wonder if I will ever find out if playing the violin made any difference. Well, finally we got to the last Sabbath. Lots of people were getting baptized. It was a beautiful experience. And the head elder had invited our group over to his house for lunch. So after the baptisms and everything, we're eating at his house. And I said to him, I said, tell me, were you raised an Adventist? And he said, well, part of my life. He said, you see, when I was about 12 years old, he said, my grandparents were raising me and my brothers, and he said, we went to some evangelistic meetings. I said, how old are you? And he told me, and I started adding how old I was and how old he was, and I realized it could be the same meeting. And I said, was this meeting in a high school auditorium? He said, yes, it was. He said, there was two little kids. They were American or maybe they were German. He said, honestly, I don't know. But he said, they came and they did music, and I liked to sing, and my brother liked to play the piano, and the other brother liked to play guitar. And so Grandpa had taken us with Grandma to the meetings, and we had sat on the front row so we could see the little kids play their instruments. He says, after about a half an hour of music, he said, they said it was time to start the meetings. And so he said, the pastor came up. He said, my grandfather said, well, this is our chance to leave now. We saw the music. We're not really interested in what the pastor has to say. But he stood up and he looked around, and the auditorium was full of people, and it made the grandfather get embarrassed. He said, we can't leave now. That would be embarrassing. I'm sorry, kids, you're going to have to sit through a sermon. So he says, we sat back down and we listened. And you know, my grandfather and grandmother really liked what they heard. And at the end of those meetings, we started going every night, and at the end of those meetings, Grandpa and Grandma were baptized. And a few years later, me and my brothers got baptized too. My brothers and I also got baptized. And I said, really? And what did that little girl look like who was playing? And he said, well, strange thing is, I remember she was wearing a green dress, and she had curly hair. And I said, wow. And suddenly the lights went on for him, and he said, no way. Was that you? And I said, uh-huh, I think so. And I named off the high school, named off the town, and he said, it was you. And I started to cry. And he said, why are you crying? And I said, because I told my mommy nobody was going to become an Adventist and give their hearts to Jesus just because a little girl and little boy went and played their music. And she said, someday when we get to heaven, we would find out if somebody had become a Christian because they came for the music. I told her I wanted to know before I got to heaven. And now I'm meeting you. So see, boys and girls, you might think you're too young, and that what you do doesn't matter, and you might have to wait until you're an adult to find out. But God can use you, no matter how old you are. Never forget, you aren't too young. God needs you as a missionary.
Welcome back to Mission 360. If there are any episodes that you may have missed or any stories that you would like to look at again, just go to m360.tv, and there you'll find everything to do with Mission 360. You can even read the Mission 360 magazine. Next up, let's visit a mobile clinic in Mexico.
In the city of Villahermosa, Mexico, a bus serving as a mobile clinic winds its way through the neighborhoods, giving free medical care, medications, and health advice to the people. The mobile clinic is a mission initiative of the Southeast Adventist Hospital, which has served the people of Mexico for decades. This unique ministry not only offers physical restoration to patients, but also shares spiritual restoration in the hope of Jesus.
This is a mobile clinic which allows the hospital to help the community. We provide gynecology, pediatrics, general medicine, traumatology, and especially dentistry. We serve the community because we believe it's part of our mission, and it's what Jesus did.
Today, the bus comes to a suburban neighborhood in Villahermosa. The people in this area have very little access to basic health care. The nearest hospital is too far, and most of the people are unable to pay for an appointment or a clinical exam. Many are also not familiar with healthy habits and lack nutritious diets. So the Adventist doctors come by on the mobile clinic and do what they can to give the best possible treatment to everyone. Around the world, medical missionaries are using Christ's method of ministry to mingle with people and minister to their needs. This allows them to gain the confidence of the people, many of whom have a desire to learn more about the gospel. The difference that medical missionaries make in their lives is remarkable. Please pray for people in Mexico to find healing and hope in Jesus. And thank you for your support of Mission.
Well, that's about it for today's program, and I'm so glad that you were able to join me here on Mission 360, and I hope that you enjoyed our 360-degree view of mission around the world. And I want to thank you so much for being part of our global mission team. Every time that you pray for church planting, for centers of influence, for new work around the world, you are part of our team. Every time you support us with your finances, and every time that you are personally involved, and it does make a difference, and I want to thank you so much. As we leave, I invite you to listen to this music video, and as we listen, let's take the time to pause, to reflect, to meditate, to pray about mission, how we personally can be involved, and also to pray for those on the front line of mission. For Adventist Mission, I'm Gary Krause, and I hope that you can join me next time right here on Mission 360.
El mundo corre en busca de sucesos. En tanto existen guerras sin dolor. El hombre sueña con fama y progreso, mas deja así su marcha para atrás. Solo en Dios existe gloria verdadera. Él puede a la vida dar valor. Es Él quien nos promete un mundo nuevo, sin miedo, sin tristeza, sin rencor.
La gloria de esta tierra es pasajera, la vida pasa y todo queda atrás. No temo el futuro, pues tengo a Dios conmigo. Se puede acabar el mundo, estoy en paz.
Entrega tu camino al Señor, confía en Él y lo demás se añadirá. Es este el suceso verdadero. En este mundo solo queda en Dios confiar. La gloria de esta tierra es pasajera,
futuro, pues tengo a Dios conmigo. Se puede acabar el mundo, se puede acabar el mundo, se puede acabar el mundo. Estoy en paz.
I hear the voice of Jesus calling. My answer is, I will go. I see the need of people crying. My answer is, I will go. I'm going to share the message of love. I'm going to share the blessed hope. But if I get discouraged, I call to Jesus' help, because I am disciple.